What's up, guys? I wanted to talk a little bit about uh, the way developers, or I should say, probably publishers, decide to release information about video games. And something that's always bothered me, a real pet peeve that I have, and I just wanted to talk a little bit about it and see what you guys, what are your thoughts on this? But I'm going to talk a little bit first about Rockstar because as those of you who do watch my videos know, I they're my favorite developer. I think they're the best developer in the business. There are certainly other developers who also do a great job in terms of creating great games. But that doesn't mean that everything Rockstar does is something that I sign off on or think is great. They have their negatives as well. And one of the biggest things that has always bothered me about Rockstar is they have this penchant for releasing information way too early in development of a game. For instance, right now, one of the games I'm looking forward to, probably more than any game that I've ever looked forward to, is Red Dead Redemption 2. And those of you who haven't played Red Dead Redemption really should. I highly recommend that game. In my opinion, it's probably the best game ever made. Uh, Obviously, if you're not a fan of westerns and stuff of that genre, maybe it's not for you. But if you enjoy open world games like I do, um, and I love westerns, that game is perfection. That's a 10 out of 10 in my book. It's an amazing game. It's just a great story. The gameplay itself is very good. Um, the atmosphere, I think that's something that's very underrated in the minds of developers when they create games. Atmosphere is very important, and atmosphere can elevate a decent game to greatness, right? So, for example, I could give a lot of examples, but I'll just give a few. The first couple of Resident Evils, right? If anyone who's played those games and remembered playing those games, the atmosphere is what really made those games great. Just a sense of dread that was always with you when you played that game. No matter who you were, it left an impression on you. I don't. Oh my god! I can't believe I don't remember this other game. It's another horror game from the same era where you were in this town and everything was real grim. I don't remember the name of. Oh my god! How can I? I should have wrote this down, but let me just move on from that. But Red Dead Redemption had that atmosphere. You just a game that has good atmosphere. You just kind of pace yourself and you enjoy every moment of it. You don't rush through it. You don't just go from one objective to the next. You just take your time. You pace yourself and take everything in. And the game was really good for the time. Uh, Visually, just all the level of detail. You really took your time to take it all in. I really love games that allow you to do that. So I really just recommend that game. So you should play it if you haven't. That being said, when they announced Red Dead Redemption 2, that was over a year ago. And that leads me to one of the things I hate most about game developers or publishers today is they announce games way before they're ever going to see the light of day. Sometimes they'll announce a game and it's still on the drawing board and hasn't even been begun development. I know why they do it, and I'm going to tell you why they do it. Okay, it's not it has nothing to do with marketing. Okay, because especially with Rockstar, when they announce a game, everybody listens, everybody pays attention. They don't need marketing, or I should say, they need very little. They just need to let you know what the game is, what it's about, and when it's coming out. That's it. It's gonna sell. Okay. So, and they've always done this. They announced this game over a year ago. And when they announced it, they already knew, according to them, it wasn't going to come out till fall, which is right now, right? And of course, as always, there's a delay. And these games, it's delaying games in the business is a common thing. It happens all the time. And it's not like something that's unexpected. Any big project, no matter what it is prone to experiencing some delay for one reason or another. It's very hard to pinpoint a release date so far before, so far in ahead in development. It's hard to do that. You could say, yeah, this game's going to take a year, 2 years to make, and it'll release on Christmas of 2018, but you don't really know that. As you go along, you experience problems you got to deal with. You don't really know. And that's what bothers me. There's no point in announcing the game when it's so far away from release, which means you're going to inevitably, at some point, eventually going to have to announce a delay. And that is agonizing for people who really look forward to these games. They're all excited about it, and then boom, oh, it's going to be delayed another 6 months. And sometimes it's delayed multiple times. Well, it's easy to avoid that if you just waited. Don't let people know this game even exists. At least, and this is a stretch, if you know for a fact it's coming out 6 months from now, then you could let the public know about it. And even 6 months to me is overkill. You don't need 6 months to market a game. Unless you are a new developer with a project and nobody really knows who you are and you really want to push this out there, okay, 6 months. But 6 months is a long time. And Rockstar did this with GTA 4. They did it with GTA 5. That game was announced and over 2 years went by. And it was constantly delayed. They would release a couple of screenshots, get people all amped up, and then announce a delay. You don't need this amount of time to market a game. So it's not marketing. That's not why they reveal the existence of a project so soon. The reason that they do it is to appease shareholders. Okay? All of these companies have, at least the companies that are public or have shareholders, stock that you can buy, they have a fiscal year date where they know how much money is projected how much the projected earnings are for a specific company. So what they do is they have these shareholder meetings, and now I'm not an expert on Wall Street. I'm not an expert on all this stuff. So, if one of you guys out there is some marketing genius, or I should say, in the stock market, you don't have to correct every little detail. I'm just giving you a general sense that the reason they announce this stuff is to appease shareholders, to make sure that the stock price continues to stay high or go higher. So obviously, when they announced last year Red Dead Redemption 2, the price of the stock is naturally going to go up, stay high, whatever it is. It's good for shareholders. It's good for the price of the stock. Right? That's the only reason they do it. They knew damn well this game was nowhere near being released. And when they made this announcement, they were still in the middle of development. Okay? So there's no point in revealing this information. So the public gets excited, and then you're like, okay, it's coming out. And even when they announced it, that was a year ago. The release date was not a firm date. They didn't give you a specific date. They just said fall of 2017. That was a year away. And as you know by now, if you've been following the news for that game, they announced, okay, it's not coming out till spring. So yeah, recently they revealed the second trailer to the game because they don't have a choice. They got to reveal something just to keep people enticed and not be wondering, oh, what the hell's going on with this game. But that's the only reason they did that. It's not marketing. That game does not need to be marketed. They could just say, hey, it's coming out April, and boom, that's it. Release the game. It's going to sell. You're not going to increase sales through 2 years of marketing. So that's something that's always bothered me. I hate it. I wish personally that these developers would just not tell anybody what they're doing until the game is at least 6 months away from a positive release date. Not a tentative date, a positive date. It's like we are in the final stages of polishing the game. We've already done thorough testing. We're just wrapping everything up and getting ready for marketing. And 6 months is, even that's a lot of time, right? So I just wanted to get that out there. That's something I've always hated. Rockstar is known for that. And at the end, yeah, you get a great game because they take time to develop these games. So I love their games, and I appreciate the time and the energy they put into it, and that they're not afraid to delay a game to make sure it's the best it can be. But the problem is, if you didn't tell me about this fucking game a year ago, I wouldn't be all agitated about these delays. But like I said, it's not about me, it's not about you, it's about shareholders. It's all to appease that demographic and keep those stock prices up. Because these shareholders want to know what's going on. You know, I'm a shareholder, and you know Rockstar doesn't put out a game every year. They just don't. They're not a yearly release company. They put a lot of money and a lot of resources to each game, and these games take years to make. So when you own stock in a company like Rockstar, you are going to be sitting around a lot of the time just wondering what's going on with the company. And to appease you, that's what they do. They let you know, oh, by the way, Red Dead Redemption 2 is coming next fall. And now you're like, okay, great. But it sucks for the majority of people who are sitting around. I'm still waiting to know what happened with Agent. I was looking forward to that game. That game was revealed many years ago on the PS3. Never happened. And people were left wondering what the hell. And I love the concept of that game. An open world game about the Cold War. Espionage. Okay? I love games that have a lot of stealth. Games that you have to take your time, think about what you're doing. I'm not a big fan of games where you're just running around and just killing everything in sight. There's no excitement in that for me. I like games that involve more planning and strategy and thinking, and allow you to pace yourself and take your time and take things in. I talked about a game called Siphon Filter in a video a while back, and that's one of my favorite games from the PS2 era. And if any one of you have played that game, you know what I'm talking about. And that game was a lot like what they talked about Agent would be. Now I know it's apples and oranges. There is a big difference, but at least in terms of being an agent, and you're in a it was a linear game, to be honest. It wasn't an open world game, but it had so many levels, and each level was unique, and you had to sneak around. You couldn't be spotted. If you were spotted by an enemy, you know, it was over for you. And you had, certain objectives to complete, and I just love stuff like that. I was really looking forward to Agent. Never happened. And then the latest rumor about a year ago, they said that they procured the name rights to the game. So now people are like assuming that means that game is still, on the drawing board. It's going to be made at some point. I hope it is. And I could only imagine what kind of game Rockstar would make with that theme of the Cold War and just an agent. You're an agent. So I hope that game gets made eventually, but I'd rather not know about it until it's 6 months, at least 6 months away, if not less. I don't need to know about it and just wait around for a year or 2 years. So I look forward to Red Dead Redemption 2. I think that game is going to blow people away. I can only imagine, as good as Red Dead Redemption was, how good is this game going to be on these consoles? And I hope it has HDR. It's HDR enabled. I can't wait, but I'm also hoping there's not another delay. Right now, all they said was spring of 2018. That can mean almost anything. And what's to say there's not going to be another delay? Grand Theft Auto 5 did it. Grand Theft Auto 4. I used to be in the forums there, and it was just constant speculation, and I hate that. And that's something I've always hated about Rockstar, and they're not the only company that does it. And I just wanted to get that off my chest, man. Anybody out there who's a developer, I don't think they're never going to stop doing that. I think it's one of those things that are just part of the industry. But man, it just really pisses me off, and it just takes forever to get another game from Rockstar. And I love their games, I love their products, but this is one aspect of what they do that has always bothered me. So, what are your thoughts? I look forward to your comments, and until I got something else to talk about, I'll see you around.